The ship shook hard as another blast hit the side. Captain David Lee grabbed the wall to stop himself from falling. Red lights were flashing everywhere. Alarms were screaming. His crew was running to their stations, but he already knew the truth. They had lost this fight before it even started. "Grace, what are we dealing with?" David shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Grace Park was at her station, her fingers moving fast over the controls. Her face was pale behind her helmet's glass. "4 Selenari warships, Captain. They came out of nowhere. Our shields are down to 12%. David closed his eyes for just 1 second. The Selenari. Of all the aliens they could have run into, it had to be them. The Selenari Empire had been at cold war with humanity for decades. No peace, no real fighting. Just tension, hate, and fear on both sides. And now his little scout ship had wandered into their territory. "Can we run?" David asked. Kevin Cho, his security chief, shook his head. The big man was already checking his weapon. "They have us locked, Captain. We run, they blow us apart. We fight, they blow us apart. We surrender." He did not finish the sentence. David knew what happened to humans who surrendered to the Selenari. Nobody knew for sure because nobody ever came back. But the stories were bad enough. Another blast shook the ship. Sparks flew from the ceiling. One of his crew members screamed as a panel fell on her arm. David made his choice. "All crew, this is your captain," he said into the ship's communication system. His voice was calm even though his heart was beating fast. "We are going to be boarded. Do not fight. I repeat, do not fight. Stay alive. That is an order." The crew looked at him with fear in their eyes, but they nodded. They trusted him. David hoped that trust was not a mistake. The Selenari ships moved closer. David watched through the window as a massive vessel came alongside them. It was beautiful in a terrible way. The ship was silver and black, shaped like a blade. The name on its side was in Selenari writing, but David knew what it said. The Eternal Throne. The flagship of Queen Velith herself. They were not just captured by any Selenari. They were captured by the best. The airlock door exploded inward. Selenari soldiers poured into the ship like water through a broken dam. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with pale skin that glowed softly in the emergency lights. Each one had 4 eyes, 2 large ones in the normal place and 2 smaller ones above them. They moved fast and smooth, like predators who knew their prey could not escape. David raised his hands. His crew did the same. A Selenari commander walked through the broken door. He was bigger than the others, with armor that had gold lines on it. His 4 eyes looked at the humans with disgust. "The faceless ones," the commander said. His voice was deep and cold. "Hiding behind your masks as always. Are you so ugly that you cannot show your true form?" David said nothing. All humans wore environmental suits and helmets when dealing with aliens. It was protocol, safety, but the Selenari did not see it that way. To them, hiding your face was the act of a coward, a creature with no honor. "I am Commander Raxes," the alien said. "You are now prisoners of the Selenari Empire. Move, and you die. Speak without permission, and you die. Look at me wrong, and you die." He smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp. "Do you understand, helmet cowards?" The humans nodded. Rx eyes pointed at his soldiers. "Take them to the throne room. The Queen wants to see them." David felt his stomach drop. The Queen herself? That was either very good or very bad. Probably bad. The soldiers pushed the humans forward. They walked through long hallways made of dark metal. Selenari crew members stopped to watch them pass. Some laughed. Some spat on the floor. One young Selenari threw something at Grace's helmet. She did not react. None of them did. Finally, they reached a massive door. It was at least 30 feet tall, covered with symbols and pictures that David did not understand. The door opened slowly, and bright light poured out. The throne room was the biggest indoor space David had ever seen. It could have held his entire ship 3 times over. Thousands of Selenari nobles stood on both sides, dressed in fancy clothes of every color. They all turned to look at the human's dot, and at the far end, on a throne made of something that looked like frozen lightning, sat Queen Vale-Ith Dot. She was the most beautiful and terrifying thing David had ever seen. Her skin was pale white, almost silver. Her 4 eyes were deep purple. She wore a crown that seemed to be made of light itself. When she looked at him, David felt like she was looking through his helmet, through his skin, right into his soul. "Bring them closer," the queen said. Her voice was soft, but it filled the entire room. The soldiers pushed the humans forward until they stood at the bottom of the steps, leading to the throne. David counted his crew quickly. 12 people. 12 lives depending on him. Queen Velith stood up. She was even taller than Raxes. She walked down the steps slowly, her long dress flowing behind her. She stopped right in front of David. "So," she said, "these are humans. The faceless ones. The helmet cowards." She tilted her head, studying him like he was a strange bug. "I have heard many stories about your kind. You hide behind your technology. You never show your true faces. Even when you die, you keep your masks on. Why is that?" David stayed silent. He was not given permission to speak. The queen smiled slightly. "You may answer." "It is our way, Your Majesty," David said carefully. "Our suits protect us. Our helmets keep us safe." "Safe from what?" "The air here is clean. You can breathe it." She leaned closer. "Or is there something else you are hiding?" Around them, the nobles started whispering. David could hear them talking about legends, about prophecies, about something called the Returned Ones. He did not understand what they meant. Queen Velith raised her hand. The room went completely silent. "For 10,000 years, my people have wondered what lies beneath your helmets," she said. "Every human we have captured chose death before showing their face. It has become a mystery. Some say you are monsters. Some say you are machines. Some say—" She paused and looked at the high priestess standing nearby. "Some say you are something else entirely." She turned back to David. Her 4 purple eyes locked onto his hidden face. "I am tired of wondering," Queen Velith said. "Today the mystery ends." She straightened up, her voice becoming hard as stone. "Remove your helmet, human captain." David heard Grace gasp beside him. Kevin made a small sound of protest. The entire crew tensed, ready to fight even though they had no weapons. But David stayed calm. He had been a soldier for 20 years. He had faced death many times. He had the scars to prove it. And right now, something was telling him that this moment was important. More important than anything he had ever done. He looked up at the alien queen. She expected him to refuse. She expected him to choose death like all the others. David reached up and put his hands on his helmet. The crowd gasped. He found the clasps and started to unlock them. Click, click. Grace grabbed his arm. "Captain, don't." "It's okay," David said quietly. "Trust me." He pulled the helmet off his head. The air was cold on his scarred face. He blinked as his eyes adjusted to the bright light. He looked up at Queen Vale-Ith and the Queen of the Selenari Empire, ruler of 1,000 worlds, conqueror of countless enemies, froze in place. Her purple eyes went wide. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Behind her, the high priestess dropped her staff. It hit the floor with a loud crash that echoed through the silent room. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. David stood there, his burned and scarred face exposed to an entire alien civilization, and waited to see what would happen next. The silence in the throne room was so deep that David could hear his own heartbeat. It sounded loud in his ears. Thump, thump. He stood there with his helmet in his hands, his scarred face bare for all to see, and waited. Queen Velith had not moved. Her 4 purple eyes were locked on his face like she was seeing a ghost. Her hands were shaking slightly at her sides. Behind her, the high priestess was on her knees. Tears were falling from her eyes. She was whispering something over and over again, but David could not hear the words. One of the nobles in the crowd fainted. He fell to the floor with a loud thump, but nobody went to help him. Nobody could look away from David's face. Commander Raxes pushed forward through the frozen crowd. His face was twisted with anger and confusion. "This proves nothing," he shouted. "It is just a face. An ugly, broken face." But even as he said it, his voice was shaking. David noticed that Raxes could not look directly at him. Queen Velith finally spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. "The returned ones." The high priestess nodded quickly, still on her knees. "Yes, my queen. Yes, just as the ancient text said. 2 eyes like dark stars. Skin kissed by the sun. A face that shows all emotion." She pointed at David with a trembling finger. "Look at him. Look at his face. He is exactly as the prophecy described." David did not understand what they were talking about. He looked at Grace, but she looked just as confused as he felt. "What prophecy?" David asked. "What are you talking about?" Queen Velith took a step toward him. Then another. She was so close now that he could see his own reflection in her purple eyes. She reached out her hand slowly, like she was afraid he might disappear. 10,000 years ago, she said softly, beings came to our world. They were not Selinari. They were different. They had 2 eyes instead of 4. Their skin was warm, not pale. They could smile and frown and show anger with just their faces. She touched his cheek gently. Her fingers were cool against his burned skin. They taught us everything. Language, science, art. They lifted us from animals to people. The high priestess continued the story. Then one day, they left. They said they had to find others like us. Other children scattered across the stars. They promised to return when the time was right. Her voice broke with emotion. We have waited 10,000 years. We built an empire, hoping to find them. We searched every corner of space. She looked at David with pure wonder in her 4 eyes. And now you are here. David's mind was racing. This did not make sense. Humans had been exploring space for only a few hundred years. They had never met the Selinari before the Cold War started. How could humans be in Selinari ancient texts? There must be a mistake, he said slowly. We are just humans. We come from a planet called Earth. We have never been to your world before. Queen Velith shook her head. I do not know how. I do not know why. But you are them. You are the returned ones. I can feel it in my soul. Commander Raxes laughed loudly. It was not a happy laugh. This is madness. My queen, he is lying. They are all lying. They are using some kind of trick to fool us. He pointed at the other humans. If they are all these so-called returned ones, then make them show their faces too. They will refuse because they are hiding something. Queen Velith looked at David. There was a question in her eyes. David turned to his crew. They were all watching him, their faces hidden behind their helmets. They looked scared, but they also looked ready. They trusted him. Take off your helmets, David said. All of you. Grace was the first to comply. She reached up and removed her helmet. Her long black hair fell around her shoulders. Her brown eyes met Queen Velith's without fear. The crowd gasped again. Kevin went next. His helmet came off to reveal a strong face with a short beard. He looked around the room like he was ready to fight anyone who came close. One by one, the rest of the crew removed their helmets. Men and women, young and old, all of them different, but all of them unmistakably the same kind of being. The high priestess started crying openly now. She was not the only one. Many nobles in the crowd had tears running down their faces. Some had fallen to their knees. "Impossible," Raxi said. His voice was barely audible. "This is impossible." Queen Veleth walked among the humans, looking at each face. She touched their cheeks, their hair, their hands. She was smiling and crying at the same time. "It is true," she said. "It is all true. The prophecy was right. They have returned." She came back to David and took his hands in hers. "Who are you? Where do you come from? Why did you leave us?" David took a deep breath. This was going to be hard to explain. "Your Majesty, we are humans. Our home world is called Earth, and is far from here, in a different part of the galaxy." He paused, trying to find the right words. "We did not know about you. We did not know about any of this, but we have stories too." Grace stepped forward. "I study alien languages and cultures, Your Majesty. I have read about ancient human myths. Many of them talk about beings who seeded life across the galaxy. They are called different names in different cultures. Gods, ancestors, travelers. But the story is always the same. They spread life, then disappeared." She looked at David, then back at the Queen. What if those stories are real? What if there really was an ancient civilization that created both of us? Humans and Selinari, born from the same source, but planted on different worlds? The high priestess stood up slowly. Her legs were weak, but her eyes were bright. "The ancient texts say the returned ones came from the place where the first light was born. They said more children were scattered among the stars, waiting to be found." She grabbed Queen Veleth's arm. "My queen, do you understand what this means? We are not alone. We were never alone. We have family." The word hit David hard. Family. He had lost his own family years ago in a fire. That was where he got his scars. He had been alone for so long. And now this alien queen was looking at him like he was something precious. Something holy. Commander Raxi stepped forward. His face was dark with anger. "This changes nothing. Even if they are these returned ones, they are weak. They have been hiding behind their helmets for years. They are cowards." "Cowards?" Kevin said, his deep voice cutting through the noise. "You think we wear helmets because we are afraid? We wear them because we did not want to scare you." Raxis laughed. "Scare us? You are tiny and soft. You break easily. What is there to be scared of?" Kevin smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You have been fighting our machines, our ships, our weapons. You have never seen us fight with our hands, our teeth, our will. Trust me, Commander. You do not want to see that." Queen Veleth raised her hand before Raxis could respond. "Enough. There will be no more fighting today." She looked at David with serious eyes. "I have many questions. I want to know everything about your people, your world, your history. I want to understand how this is possible." She gestured to her guards. "Take them to the guest quarters. Give them food, water, anything they need. They are no longer prisoners, my queen." Raxis protested. "I said enough, Commander." Her voice was ice cold. "Question me again, and you will spend the night in the cells instead of them." Raxis closed his mouth, but his eyes were burning with hate. He looked at David like he wanted to kill him. David looked back without fear. He had faced worse than angry aliens. The guards led them out of the throne room. As they walked, David could hear the crowd behind them exploding into noise. Everyone was talking, shouting, crying. The Selinari Empire would never be the same after today, Grace walked beside him. She leaned close so only he could hear. David, what are we going to do? They think we are their gods or something. David shook his head. I do not know. But we are alive. That is more than I expected. He looked back at the throne room. He could still see Queen Velith standing there, watching them go. We play along. We learn. We find a way to talk to Earth. He touched his scarred face. It still felt strange to be without his helmet. And we pray that we have not just started something we cannot stop. 3 days had passed since the humans removed their helmets. 3 days of questions, tests, and wonder. 3 days that changed everything. David stood at the window of his guest room, looking out at the stars. The Eternal Throne was still moving through space, but he had no idea where they were going. Queen Velith said they were heading to the Selenari home world. She wanted to show her people the truth with her own eyes. The door opened behind him. Grace walked in with a computer tablet in her hands. Her eyes were tired but excited. You need to see this, she said. David turned around. What did you find? Grace sat down on the bed and put the tablet on the table. I have been working with High Priestess Thalira. We have been comparing our ancient texts with theirs. David, it is real. All of it. She touched the tablet and a picture appeared. It showed 2 circles with lines connecting them. One circle was labeled in Selenari writing. The other was in English. This is a DNA comparison, Grace explained. Selenari scientists took blood samples from all of us. They compared it to their own DNA. David leaned closer. And there are markers. Deep in the genetic code, hidden under millions of years of changes. But they are there. The same markers in both species. She looked up at him. David, we really are related. Not like brothers and sisters. More like very distant cousins. But the connection is real. David sat down heavily. He had hoped there was another explanation. Something simple. Something that did not turn everything he knew upside down. So there really was an ancient civilization, he said slowly. They really did seed life across the galaxy. Grace nodded. It looks that way. The Selenari call them the Makers. We have called them different things throughout history. But they existed. And they made both of us. Before David could respond, the door opened again. Kevin walked in quickly. His face was serious. We have a problem, he said. David stood up immediately. He knew that look. What happened? I was walking near the military section of the ship, doing a security check like always. Kevin crossed his arms. I heard Commander Raxes talking to some of his soldiers. They are not happy about us being here. That is not new, David said. Raxes has hated us from the moment we arrived. It is worse than hate, Captain. Kevin lowered his voice. He is planning something. I could not hear everything, but I heard words like rebellion and true Selenari values and removing the contamination. Grace's face went pale. He wants to kill us. Maybe, or maybe something bigger. Kevin looked at the door. He has a lot of supporters in the military. They have spent their whole lives believing they are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Now we show up, and suddenly, they are not special anymore. They do not like that. David walked to the window again. His reflection stared back at him, scarred and tired. We need to tell the Queen. Will she believe us? Grace asked. Raxes has served her for decades. We have been here for 3 days. We have to try. David turned around. Kevin, I want you to keep watching. Do not get caught, but find out as much as you can. Grace, keep working with Thalira. The more proof we have about our connection, the harder it is for Raxes to call us liars. They both nodded. David went to find Queen Velith. The Queen was in her private study, a small room filled with books and ancient objects. She was reading an old scroll when David entered. "Captain Lee," she said, putting down the scroll. "I am glad you came. I have been wanting to talk to you. Your Majesty, I have something important to tell you." She raised her hand. "Please, sit first. And call me Veleth. I think we are past formal titles now." David sat down across from her. Being this close to her still felt strange. She was so different from humans, but there was something familiar about her eyes. Something that made him feel like he was talking to a very old friend. "What is troubling you?" Veleth asked. David told her everything. About Kevin hearing Raxes, about the words rebellion and contamination, about his fear that something bad was coming. Veleth listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Raxes has been my commander for 30 years, she finally said. "He helped me win the throne. He has protected my life many times, but," she sighed, "I have seen the way he looks at you, at your people. There is fear there, and fear makes people do terrible things. What are you going to do?" "I will watch him. I will have my loyal guards keep their eyes open." She stood up and walked to the window. "But I cannot arrest him for talking. Not yet. I need proof of action, not just words." But David understood. Even human leaders face the same problem. You could not punish someone for thinking bad thoughts. "There is something else I want to discuss," Veleth said. She turned to face him. "Your scars. How did you get them?" David touched his face automatically. "There was a fire. On a space station? The children's area was burning. I went in to get them out, without protection. There was no time. The suits take too long to put on. The children did not have that long." He shrugged. "I got 'em out, but my face paid the price." Veleth walked closer to him. Her purple eyes were soft now, not hard like before. "How many children?" 12. "And you went into fire for 12 children who were not even your own family?" David looked at her. "They were children. What else could I do?" Veleth stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that shocked him. She bowed her head. "I was wrong about your people," she said quietly. "We called you cowards. We called you weak. But a coward does not run into fire for strangers. A weak person does not sacrifice their body for children." She reached out and touched his scars gently. "These marks are not ugly, Captain. They are beautiful. They tell me exactly what kind of person you are." David did not know what to say. Nobody had ever called his scars beautiful before. Before he could respond, an alarm started blaring through the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls. Veleth's face changed instantly. The soft woman disappeared and the queen returned. "What is happening?" A guard ran into the room. "Your Majesty, there is fighting on the lower decks. Commander Raxes, he's started a rebellion." David's heart dropped. They had run out of time. "How many are with him?" Veleth demanded. "At least a third of the military, Your Majesty. They have taken control of the engine room and the weapons bay." Veleth grabbed a sword from the wall. David had not even noticed it was there. She looked like a warrior goddess holding that blade. "Where are the other humans?" she asked David. Grace was with Falira. Kevin was near the military section. His blood went cold. Kevin was near the military section. If the rebellion started there, Kevin might already be in trouble. "Go find your people," Veleth ordered. "Bring them to me. I will rally my loyal forces." "Give me a weapon," David said. Veleth stared at him. "You want to fight for us?" "I want to fight with you. There is a difference." He met her eyes without looking away. "We did not cross the galaxy to find our cousins, just to watch them destroy themselves." For just 1 second, Veleth smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. Then it was gone, replaced by the face of a queen at war. She pulled a second sword from the wall and threw it to David. He caught it easily. "Try not to die, Captain," she said. "I have many more questions for you." "I will do my best, Your Majesty." Then they ran out of the room together into the chaos of a rebellion that would change everything. The ship was chaos. Alarms screamed from every speaker. Selinari ran through the hallways, some trying to fight, some trying to hide. The smell of smoke filled the air. David ran as fast as he could, the alien sword heavy in his hand. He had to find his crew. He had to find Kevin. He turned a corner and almost ran into Grace. She was with High Priestess Thalira, both of them pressed against the wall. Grace had a metal pipe in her hands, holding it like a weapon. "David!" Grace cried out. "Thank God, the whole ship has gone crazy." "Where are the others?" David asked. "Most of them made it to the Queen's safe room." "But Kevin?" Grace's face was pale. "He was near the engine room when it started. We have not heard from him." David's heart was pounding. Kevin was his friend. They had served together for years. He could not leave him behind. "Get to the safe room," David ordered. "Keep everyone there. I am going to find Kevin." "David, no. It is too dangerous." But David was already running. He heard Grace calling after him, but he did not stop. The closer he got to the engine room, the worse things became. Bodies lay on the floor. Some were loyalists. Some were rebels. The walls were marked with weapon burns. This was not just a rebellion. This was a war. He found Kevin in a storage room near the engine section. His friend was bleeding from a cut on his arm, and his shirt was torn, but he was alive. He was also surrounded by 3 rebel soldiers. Kevin saw David at the same moment the rebels did. "Captain!" Kevin shouted. "A little help here." David did not think. He just acted. He charged into the room with his sword raised. The first rebel turned to face him, surprised by the attack. David's blade caught him across the chest, and he went down. The second rebel swung at David's head. David ducked and felt the air move above him. He kicked the rebel's leg, making him fall, then hit him with the handle of his sword. Kevin used the distraction to fight the third rebel. Even wounded, Kevin was strong. He grabbed the alien's arm and twisted. There was a crack and the rebel screamed. Then it was over. 3 rebels down. 2 humans still standing. Kevin grabbed his bleeding arm. "Thanks, Captain. Thought I was done for. Can you walk?" "I can do more than walk." Kevin picked up a fallen rebel's weapon. It looked strange in his human hands, but he held it like he knew how to use it. "What is the plan?" "Get to the Queen. Help her take back the ship." They moved through the hallways together, fighting when they had to, hiding when they could. David lost track of how many rebels they faced. His arms were tired. His body was covered in small cuts and bruises. But he kept going. That was what humans did. They kept going. They found Queen Velith near the bridge. She was fighting with a group of loyalists against a larger group of rebels. Her sword moved like lightning, but she was slowly being pushed back. David and Kevin joined the fight. The rebels were not expecting an attack from behind. The surprise gave the loyalists the advantage they needed. Within minutes, the fight was over. Velith looked at David with something like amazement. "You came back. You could have escaped. You could have taken your people and run." David was breathing hard. There was blood on his sword. He did not know if it was his or the enemy's. "I told you," he said. "We are fighting with you, not for you. There's a difference." "Raxes has locked himself in the engine room," one of the loyalists reported. "He says he will blow up the whole ship before he lets it fall into the hands of the humans." Velith's face went hard. "He would kill everyone? His own people?" He says it is better than letting the prophecy destroy everything the Selenari have built. David stepped forward. Let me talk to him. Everyone stared at him. Captain, he wants you dead, Kevin said. Walking into that room is suicide. Maybe, but maybe not. David looked at Veleth. He is afraid of what I represent. Maybe if I face him alone, I can end this without more death. Veleth thought about it. David could see the conflict in her eyes. She did not want to let him go. But she also did not want to destroy her own ship. If you do this, she said slowly, I cannot guarantee your safety. I cannot send soldiers with you. If I do, he might really blow us all up. I know. Why would you risk your life for us? We are strangers. We were your enemies 3 days ago. David thought about the answer. He thought about his scars, about the children he had saved, about all the reasons he had become a soldier in the first place. Because it is the right thing to do, he said simply. That is what humans do. We try to do the right thing, even when it hurts. Veleth was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. The walk to the engine room was the longest of David's life. He left his sword behind. He left his weapon behind. He walked with empty hands, a sign that he came for peace. The engine room door was sealed. David knocked on it. Raxes, he called out. It is Captain Lee. I want to talk. There was silence. Then the door opened just enough for David to squeeze through. The engine room was huge, filled with machines David did not understand. Raxes stood in the middle, his hand on a control panel. He looked terrible. His armor was damaged. His face was covered in sweat. You came alone, Raxes said. He sounded surprised. Either you are very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. David walked closer, keeping his hands visible. I heard you want to blow up the ship. I will if I have to. Better that than let you destroy everything we are. David stopped about 10 feet away from him. What do you think I am going to destroy? Raxes laughed, but there was no humor in it. Look at what you have already done. 3 days. 3 days, and the Queen looks at you like you are gods. Our priests are saying our whole history is a lie. Our warriors are asking why they should fight when the returned ones can just make peace. He pointed at David. You have taken our purpose, our pride, our identity. What will we be without those things? David understood now. This was not about hate. This was about fear. Raxes was afraid of change, afraid of becoming nothing. I am not here to take anything from you, David said quietly. I did not ask to be in your prophecy. I did not ask for any of this. It does not matter what you ask for. It only matters what you are. And what am I, Raxes? A god? I am just a man. Look at me. He pointed to his scarred face. I am broken. I am tired. I am far from home. I miss my family. I get scared just like you. Raxes was shaking. His hand on the control panel was trembling. You want to know what humans are really like? David took another step forward. We fall down. We get hurt. We lose people we love. But we get back up. That is all we do. We just keep getting back up. Stop talking, Raxes said. His voice was cracking. You are afraid that your people will become weak if they accept us. But you have it backwards. David was close now. Close enough to touch the control panel. Close enough for Raxes to kill him. We are not here to make you weak. We are here because we found family we never knew we had. We want to learn from you. We want to grow together. Tears were falling from Raxes's 4 eyes. He did not seem to notice. You do not understand. You cannot understand. I have given everything to make our empire strong. Everything. And now, his voice broke. And now it all means nothing. It does not mean nothing. David reached out slowly and put his hand on Raxes's arm. It means your empire is strong enough to change. Strong enough to grow. Only weak things break when they change. Strong things bend. Raxes looked at him. Really looked at him. Maybe for the first time. Why are you not afraid of me? I could kill you right now. David smiled slightly. Maybe, but I do not think you will. You are not a murderer, Raxes. You are just scared. And that is okay. I am scared too. The moment stretched forever. David could hear his own heartbeat. He could feel death standing right next to him, waiting to see what would happen. Then Raxes took his hand off the control panel. I do not know what to do now, he whispered. Neither do I, David admitted. But we will figure it out together. The engine room door opened. Queen Belith and her guards rushed in, weapons ready. They stopped when they saw the two figures standing together, not fighting. Raxes looked at his queen. I surrender, he said. Do what you will with me. Belith looked at David. He nodded slightly. Take him to a cell, she ordered. But do not harm him. He will face justice, not revenge. As the guards led Raxes away, he stopped in front of David. You really are not afraid to die, are you? He asked. David thought about it. I am afraid of many things. Dying is not one of them. Dying without purpose, that scares me. But dying for something that matters? That is just the price we pay for being alive. Raxes stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded and let the guards take him away. The rebellion was over. 1 week had passed since the rebellion ended. The Eternal Throne was still in space, but it felt like a different ship now. The fear was gone. The tension was gone. Something new had taken their place. Hope. David stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. His wounds had healed, mostly. The doctors on the ship had been amazed at how fast humans recovered. They called it a miracle. David called it being too stubborn to stay hurt. Grace walked up beside him. She looked tired but happy. Her work with High Priestess Thalira had been going well. Every day, they found more proof of the connection between humans and Selinari. The message got through, she said. Earth received our signal. David turned to her. And they are sending a diplomatic ship. It will be here in 3 weeks. She smiled. The whole planet is going crazy, David. Everyone wants to know about the Selinari. News channels are playing our story non-stop. David laughed softly. He had been so worried about survival that he had not thought about fame. I hope they do not expect me to give speeches. You saved an alien empire from civil war. I think they might expect a few speeches. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. After a while, David asked, What about Raxes? Have you heard anything? Grace nodded. Queen Belith held a trial yesterday. He was found guilty of rebellion, but she showed mercy. He will not be executed. Instead, he will spend the rest of his life studying human culture. David raised an eyebrow. That is an interesting punishment. She said she wants him to understand what he was afraid of. The only way to do that is to learn. Grace shrugged. I think it is actually very clever. In a few years, he might be our biggest supporter. David thought about Raxes standing in the engine room, crying and scared. Maybe there was hope for him after all. The door to the observation deck opened. Kevin walked in with a big smile on his face. He was wearing a new uniform, half human, half Selinari design. It looked good on him. You will never believe this, Kevin said. They offered me a job. Who? The Royal Guard. They want me to help train their soldiers. He looked almost embarrassed. They said they have never seen anyone fight like I do. They want to learn human combat techniques. David clapped him on the shoulder. That is amazing, Kevin. Are you going to take it? Kevin thought about it. Maybe for a while. I want to help them. But eventually, I want to go home. I miss Earth." They all missed Earth, but they also knew that things would never be the same. The universe had changed. Humanity had found family among the stars. Everything that came after would be different. The door opened again. This time, it was Queen Vlith. She was not wearing her crown today. She looked almost ordinary. If you could call a 7-foot-tall alien with 4 eyes ordinary. She smiled when she saw David. "Captain Lee, I was hoping to find you here. May we speak privately?" Grace and Kevin took the hint. They nodded to David and left the observation deck. Velith walked over to stand beside him at the window. For a long time, they just watched the stars together. "I have been thinking about what happens next," she finally said. "So have I. The Earthship will be here soon. You will have to leave and go back to your people. You have responsibilities there." David nodded. He was still technically a captain in the Earth Federation. He had duties, obligations, a life waiting for him, but part of him did not want to leave. "I want to ask you something," Velith said. She turned to face him. "Will you come back?" David looked at her. Her purple eyes were softer than he had ever seen them. She was not asking as a queen. She was asking as a friend. "Do you want me to come back?" He asked. "More than I can say." She took his hands in hers. "You changed everything, David. Not just the prophecy. Not just the politics. You changed me. I was so certain that I understood the universe. I thought I knew who my people were and what we meant. Then you took off your helmet and everything I believed was wrong." She squeezed his hands gently. "But it was a good kind of wrong. The best kind. I do not want to lose that feeling. I do not want to go back to being certain about everything." David understood. He felt the same way. Meeting the Selenari had opened his eyes to a universe bigger and stranger than he ever imagined. He did not want to close them again. "I will come back," he promised. "As an ambassador. As a friend. Whatever you need me to be." Velith smiled. It was a real smile, warm and full of joy. "I would like that very much." They stood together, two beings from different worlds, looking out at the same stars. It felt right. It felt like something that was always meant to happen. "Can I ask you something?" David said. "Of course. Your ancient texts. The prophecy about the returned ones. Did it say anything about what happens after we return?" Velith thought about it. "The texts are old and hard to understand. But there is one line that I always remembered." She closed her eyes, remembering. "When the returned ones come home, the darkness ends and the new age begins. Stars that were apart will come together. Children that were lost will find each other. And the galaxy will never be alone again." David felt something warm spread through his chest. Hope. Real. Powerful hope. "That is a beautiful prophecy," he said. "It is more than a prophecy now." Velith opened her eyes and looked at him. "It is a promise, and I intend to keep it." The door opened one more time. Grace rushed in, her face excited. "David, the Earthship just sent another message. They want to broadcast a live conversation between you and the leaders back home. Everyone on Earth wants to hear what happened." David sighed. He really was going to have to give speeches. Velith laughed at his expression. "Go, Captain. Your people need to hear from you. But remember your promise." "I will." David squeezed her hand one last time, then followed Grace out of the room. The walk to the communications center felt different now. Before, he had walked these halls as a prisoner, then as a guest. Now he walked as something else entirely. A bridge. A connection between two civilizations that never knew they were family. Grace set up the equipment. Kevin and the other crew members gathered around. The screen flickered to life, showing the faces of Earth's leaders, reporters, and millions of people watching from home. Captain David Lee, the Earth president said. The whole planet is watching. Can you tell us what happened out there? David looked at the camera. He thought about everything he had experienced. The fear, the wonder, the fighting, the friendship. How do you put something like that into words? He took a deep breath. We found something amazing, he said simply. We found family we never knew we had. They are different from us in many ways. They look different. They think different. Their world is strange and beautiful. But deep down, where it really matters, we are the same. We come from the same place. We share the same story. He touched his scarred face. They were afraid of us at first. They thought we were monsters hiding behind masks. But when they saw our faces, when they saw who we really are, that fear disappeared. And something better took its place. Understanding, respect, love. He looked at his crew. They were all smiling. I know this is a lot to take in. I know everything seems different now. But I want everyone on Earth to know one thing. We are not alone in this universe. We never were. And the future ahead of us is brighter than anything we could have imagined. He smiled at the camera. We came out here looking for new worlds. Instead, we found something better. We found home. The transmission ended. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Kevin started clapping. Grace joined in. Soon everyone was cheering and laughing and hugging each other. David stepped back and watched his crew celebrate. He thought about everything that had brought them here. All the luck, good and bad. All the choices, right and wrong. All the moments that could have gone differently, but did not. Through the window, he could see the stars stretching out forever. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was the Selinari home world. Somewhere out there were probably other children of the ancient makers, still waiting to be found. The universe was big and full of mysteries. But for the first time in his life, David was not afraid of that vastness.